consumption of a servers over a sustained period of time, you realize that the average draw of all the servers in a data center is only 39% of the total power installed, and the peak draw at any given point of time of all the servers put together is about 48%. So what does it mean? It means that at any given stage, we have at least 50% excess power within a data center. Not only do we have excess power of 50%, we have 50% additional UPS, we have genset capacity for additional 50%, and our air conditioning and cooling, etc., is also doubled up. So the entire infrastructure is actually twice the amount what we actually consume or what we need. That's the real story. Now, this may vary from organization to organization, vertical to vertical, and it may vary from 40%, 30% excess capacity to 60% and 70% in some cases. But the bottom line still remains that there is excess capacity within our data centers. The reality is, A, we do not know how much that capacity excess exists. B, where is that excess capacity lying? And how do we find that excess capacity within our data centers? So what are the learnings? The learnings are, while we tend to play safe, and as CIOs, since business continuity is of paramount importance, we tend to sometimes play over safe. So whatever the nameplate rating is, we obviously will go by the nameplate rating and buffer up, etc., etc. But the fact is that the spread between the two is vast. We do not need to add more capacity for load, so gensets, UPS, etc. when we augment our capacities, given the fact that there is already spare capacity, spare infrastructure available within us. So the point which one is trying to make over here, very simply, is next time when we try to expand in a data center, let's first look what's available within my data center and not take it for granted, and then expand accordingly. If I can know what exactly and I can pinpoint how much spare I have, then I don't need to invest. Because every time as CIOs we go out and ask for expansion, there's a whole laundry list which we go to the management and say this is what we need. But if you can trim down that laundry list at your own level, at your own step, then life becomes far more simpler and easier for all of you to go on investing and expanding as you want to expand. So how do you do it? The idea is that you should be able to deploy power tools which allow you to measure power on a real-time basis. There are organizations which have started doing power audits today. Now, last month I was in one of the labs, and while I was having a discussion with the concerned team over there, I saw this gentleman coming in under the table, checking the rating of a server, going under another table, going behind racks. They were doing a power audit, and they do that once a year, and they can only do it once a year because it takes about 30 days for them to collect that kind of data, collate it, and then present it to the management. But the fact is that they have no tool today which allows them to capture real-time data, A, at the rack level, B, at the device level. So that's the idea which we're trying to promote over here, that you need to measure power at the device level to get a better understanding of what's happening within your data center, and at as granular as you can go. Sure, it's difficult to go to that last mile from day one, but the idea is that that's the goal one has to set forward in our minds. And if that's the goal, then we have to take small steps to moving towards that goal. The same has to be then, the power measurement has to be then integrated with the environmental monitoring for your temperatures, humidity. So if someplace the temperature is gone down, you want to trigger up an air conditioning shutdown, sure, you do that. You want servers to shut down, or whatever corrective action you want to take, alarms, thresholds, etc. can be put, measured, and corrective action can be therefore done. Obviously, as part of the senior management, you would need various kinds of reports on energy consumption. If you have multiple data centers, you would want to see how one data center is performing against the other. Today, everybody is talking about green data centers. We are looking at measuring carbon footprints within data center. You could do all that today. And more importantly, at the first stage, the last point I would say, peak draw versus actual draw versus the nameplate rating is what you need to do. Once you get a benchmark, once you've done it for the first time, you know that this is the level which you are at today. take 1 or 2 steps, tweak your data centers. After 3 months, you can do another real-time or power audit. Tweak it further, move down further. And why are we doing it? Another simple statistics. Some of you may be aware of this. This is actually, I think this was an eye-opener for me when I came across this graph. This graph is actually from 2 servers. One is the Dell server and one is the Supermicro server. Now what it shows over here is the power consumption of a CPU at various levels of CPU utilization. At the lower end, if you see, if the CPU is at idle state, it consumes, I'm looking at the left graph, it consumes about 150 to 160 watts. At 100% CPU utilization, it's consuming about 270 watts. The important fact is, most of us run our servers between 30 to 35% average CPU utilization. At about 32% CPU utilization, it's consuming about 220 watts. If you have 2 servers at 30% CPU utilization, you are consuming therefore 220 into 2, 440 watts. Reality is, each one of us can run every server peacefully at 60% to 70% CPU utilization. At 60% CPU utilization, we are looking at power consumption of 250 watts. So if you run a server at 60% utilization, running 2 applications at 250 watts, vis-a-vis running 2 servers at 30% CPU utilization each, you're consuming 440 watts. So if you were able to integrate, increase the load on a server, very simply you are saving at least 45 to 50% of power consumption. And that's true across all servers, irrespective of the brand they do. But that's reality. More importantly, how do you get to this? How do you know how much CPU utilization is happening? How much power they're consuming? That's the idea of measuring power at the device level. How do you measure power? These are various historic tools, but realistically speaking, this is what happens on a day-to-day basis. People go around behind server to server, start measuring what the power is. The idea is we are saying, switch from the old methodology to the new methodology of measuring power and deploying power, which is intelligent power. And what is intelligent power? We define it as an intelligent PDU which goes behind the rack, coupled with a management tool for managing all the PDUs, gathering the information within your data center, and thereafter providing you meaningful information on a periodic basis so that you can take corrective action whenever you want. So what does this do? Now this is some boring slides, but I'll run through them very quickly. They measure power at the device level, as we've talked about. It gives you various measures. You can create customized reports. You can do energy consumption versus at the IT device level, rack level, outlet level, depending how you want to do it. You have various businesses running within your organization. You can club businesses, racks and servers, but then you can measure power at the business level, debit to each business, report energy costs, active power at any given point of time. You should be able to measure, and you will be able to measure what's your current power, what's happening, and consumption which is happening. You can do real-time power audits whenever you want. Obviously, since the environmental factors are also integrated with this, your heat and your humidity sensors, you get those analysis as well. Data can be exported. Various control options are available. Thresholds can be set. Whatever you want to do, it's all available to you. Or various audit logs are available. Scheduled control, carbon footprints. This is very basically one stride to put down. Stepping stones in terms of how should one move forward. We've just categorized it at 3 levels. From the IT equipment perspective, what we're saying is level 1 is a basic level measure the total power drawn at the UPS state. Next level, once you're comfortable doing that on a regular basis, do it at the PDU level, i.e. at the rack level. And the final stage is to do it at the device level. And from the facilities people, from the facilities management perspective, their perspective, they're looking at the entire data center input cost, then the data center minus the HVAC systems, and data center minus the HVACs and whatever other shared stuff that they're doing. The idea is that you should start measuring. You can start on a monthly basis initially, move down to weekly or a daily basis, and at the last stage, at the final stage, you can move down to on a real-time basis. These are just stepping stones. Everybody talks about PUE as a standard measure for measurement of the